Welcome and thank you, everyone, for joining us for another Twitter Space. Today is September 19th, and this is episode 44 of the ledgerscale Internet of Value Open Forum. Now, ledgerscale Foundation was founded with two goals in mind. One, we want to provide educational services to not only our community, but to the entire digital asset community, and to help scale up the number of brains that understand how distributed ledger technology works. And two, we intend to one day run hardware to provide infrastructural support to the distributed ledger technology networks that we believe are ESG friendly and running a form of decentralized consensus. Now, we host these spaces Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, starting at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And on Wednesday, we host a focused topic space from 5 to 6 Eastern Standard Time. Now, if I could just ask if everyone could give us a follow on Twitter at ledgerscale. Turn those notifications on so you know we're going live, and as well as at the bottom right, if I could ask if everyone could like and retweet the space so that hopefully other people can find this information valuable in the future.
Yep, and this is also live streamed on YouTube. So if you are over there, please subscribe and all that stuff there. But yep, the idea here is just to engage with the community. So if anybody has any questions, I see we got some hands up. Give me 1 second and I'll bring you up. But I'm sure if you're curious about something other people are, and it's an open forum, just be courteous if you do choose to speak up. Welcome to the space.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
What's up, Steak? Kashta? Welcome up, guys.
Thank you.
How's everybody else doing today?
Well, I've been working a lot, and turns out I shouldn't be working in September, because what a month this is, right? I mean, the news is just flying around everywhere, and I just don't have enough time to look at every article and read every legislation or possible legislation. There's just so much to go through it, so I just thought I go into space and see if there were people that could shine a light on some things, because I don't know about you all, but it's quite a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, they put out quite a lot of, from the DOJ to the White House. It was interesting today, too. If you saw, there was a picture with Brad Garlinghouse with one of the commissioners of the CFTC. So it's definitely a lot of...
That's not one-off. It is the commissioner. So it's like the Gary Gensler of the CFTC.
Isn't that ridiculous that they would?
Yeah.
They would
What's even more ridiculous is that a month ago I joined this space precisely for that same picture in Liechtenstein and Paris, but now she's with Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple, and suddenly it's news.
It's funny, right?
Oh yeah. It's all tied to the SEC lawsuits.
Small world. What's up, Wolf?
So, Steak, I just wanted to give you a quick shout out, man, because it does seem like the MICA rules that you were talking about is definitely on the table in the discussions, because they've made some mention about it. So you kind of nailed that one. I wanted to give you a shout out, man.
Thanks, man. Do you want to know the next one that I'm going to nail with the MICA regulation? Because I've been on a winning streak for almost 2 years now. So you can keep you can keep your eyes and ears open.
Give it to us, man.
The G7 transatlantic treaty between the US, Canada, and Europe in regards to data flows. Whenever they're going to sign that, that's going to be the point that the legislation will mature. And I think in parallel, we'll see the SEC and the CFTC dealing with the legislation, and probably Congress as well. But this is conjecture. I think that when the market has a possibility to mature and all the big players know how to position themselves based on the legislation and the rule set, because they will be reading that agreement and that treaty before retail has a chance to read through it. Even politicians were only allowed 10 minutes to read it, and it's 7,000 pages long. This was a few years ago in the Netherlands. So it's impossible for anyone to grasp it fully. When that happens, the head of the cybersecurity in Europe this week posted that he has an issue with data flows between EU and US in regards to privacy regulation. And he said, this is the head of cybersecurity of the EU. He said, yeah, we want to have the data flows sorted in the transatlantic trade agreement before we move forward. It's the last final piece of the puzzle. So I think
But
when that happens,
what do you think, Steak, about data flows and ISO? Because basically all ISO is about is surrounding the payment with data.
yeah, here's the funny thing is that the ISO standard for the data flows, when you look at it from a law point of view, they mention LEI numbers, line numbers, basically the same as an ISO number, but then for an entity that deals with digital assets, so both a person or a trust fund, I guess, and that part is still only coming up so far when I look at the World Bank or ECB. That's the only place where I find that dialogue or that narrative. So I don't know if it's I don't know really know anything about it like in detail, but I can look it up because um, I have seen it somewhere else. By the way, let me give me 1 minute, please.
What is it he was looking up? Welcome up, Shellfish. You want to speak about that article that you or that paper you sent me just earlier? If you want, while he finds what he's looking for.
Which one, the AI one? Because I haven't gone through it yet.
Oh, never mind them.
I mean, I could tell you what the table of context is.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Hello everyone. Hope everyone has someone getting. Hey, Wet, did you won the game? On the
Oh, I think he came up and then got rugged right away.
I just approved him.
Whoa.
Right. Well, I found it. I'll post a tweet on the top. I'll tweet about it. It's basically the report on the proposal for regulation of the European Parliament and of Council on information accompanying transfers of funds and certain crypto assets. This is part of the MiCA regulation, and there were a few articles in it, and I'm gonna screenshot it and the articles itself, and it refers to an LEI, a legal entity identifier, which is basically tied to your central banking and your digital identity on a hyperledger. But that's also that LEI number is also what is linked to an ISO standard. So hope that answers your question a little bit, Karma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect there to be some linkage there, whether it's some single data point like an LEI or something. That would make sense.
Yeah, there has to be international compliant agreements between countries. It's the only way that our species is still going to progress with this, especially with this technology that we're coming towards. DLT, AI, right? All of these different things. There has to be agreements on the way that data flows will be. Makes sense.
I've never heard the term LEI, so for whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
First
first
time I've heard that. But I can see that the what do we got? What, like another 2 months or something before ISO starts being possible to integrate, and then it's like a 2-year phase in.
Well, it's not that it's possible to integrate. It's just because ISO has been around for like a decade already, at least the ISO 20022. But it's going to be the de facto where, I guess like it's more of like a push to get people on. And then by 2024, it's like if you're not on, then you can't communicate with the financial institutions because that's the messaging standard. but we know it from 2022 to 2024 because that's where the central banks are all saying that they're switching to the ISO standard, which is really the push, right?
Hey, for a quick search on my end, what was the ISO number again? 20022, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, ISO 20022.
Hey, upgraded version. There was another version before that.
Yeah, there was. It's still what a lot of financial institutions use today, but I don't know it off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, if you Google ISO 20022 space LEI,
Oh,
that's
interesting.
You'll get an article from Swift.
What's it say? Or have you read it? Or
I'm gonna look into it right now because I haven't seen it before, but I'm gonna check the date on it. It's 2021. Payments Market Practice Group, PMPG, independent body of payment subject matter experts from Asia, Pacific, EMEA, and North America. Let's see. Could be interesting. I'm gonna tweet it up later. Let me have a look at this, and then I can quote it.
Cool. Yeah, and by the way, anybody in the audience, if you guys have any questions or anything that you guys have been wondering, specific subjects on blockchain, DLT, Internet of Value, please feel free to come up and ask me. Well, there you go. Welcome up, Tony.
So I just bought the Nano X. I don't know if this is relative to what you were offering to answer to, but I bought the Nano X Ledger hardware wallet, the Ledger Nano X, whatever you call it. It has like the most capacity, so I just went to a Best Buy and picked it up 30 minutes from my house because the one that's close to my house didn't have it in store.
Not to caution. I don't know. Hopefully it was like wrapped in a safe like deposit box.
Oh yeah.
All right, good. Like number one rule, typically you want to buy a hardware that's from the manufacturer themselves.
Right.
Just you never know if somebody like sliced cellophane open, took the seed phrase, and then wrote it down, and then you have the wallet. You fill it up, and they take it. But if it was
possible
case or something like that in the Best Buy, you should be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, it wasn't a case.
Yeah, that's good. Wait, so is that your first hardware wallet?
Well, no, it's the second one. The first one I bought was yesterday. It was the Nano S, and I didn't like that it only stored up to 3 of the cryptos that I'm holding. So I was like, I need to go buy another one. So I went today and got the X.
Oh, interesting. Wait, so the other wallet doesn't let you hold the same amount of tokens? I didn't know that.
Not nearly as many. Nope.
Well, so I'd have to say that as long as you're getting cold storage, right? I mean, it's much safer than ever keeping in. I don't think there's anything wrong with hot wallets, which wallets on your phone or online device, as long as you securely store the phrase that it never touches the internet. Yeah, cold wallets are always safe, so it's good for you for going to get it, man.
Yeah, I just had an issue with Algo, XLM, and HBAR. I've had some issue with getting those off of Uphold and onto the Live Ledger app.
You can't. What is like Uphold not letting you process the transaction or something?
I spoke to support. They said that Algorand is not available for
deposit withdrawal, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or XLM.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Well,
so can we go back to this ISO standard in a minute when you...
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. Yeah. But for the most part, I'm glad. I got my XRP bag in there. I got my Cardano bag in the cold wallet and my Quant bag in there, so I'm happy.
Why would Algorand and what was the other one? Why would they not be available?
XLM. Well, so because what's it called? Uphold is not an exchange; they're just a brokerage. And so when you withdraw from any sort of exchange, right? I guess it's or they have to be holding a sufficient amount of it because they hold the reserves for whatever you trade if you leave it in their wallet. And so they probably just don't have enough of it where they feel comfortable allowing people to take it out because it maybe it makes it so that they're not able to provide that service. It's what I would think would be the only reason.
That doesn't sound right. If I put 100 algo or XLM into Uphold, they should have 100 algo or XLM.
Yeah, it's possible for those assets they maybe don't. It's the only reason I could think about why you wouldn't have that functionality to withdraw, and all the other assets you could technically, right?
It makes sense. I'm not really sure why. If they don't have the assets, then that would be a bad.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe they're building the liquidity up, but don't have a sufficient amount where they feel comfortable with allowing the withdrawals. But yeah, so Tony, there's a lot of hardware wallets out there that are pretty good. Like I personally like this one called the BC Vault. I know there's the Decent wallet, which has like a. Did you use yours, Karma, yet? So you can make a comment if you like it with fingerprint.
It's still sitting here. I haven't had a real need to set it up. It's still sitting here. I need to just go ahead and set it up. I just haven't.
Yeah, but so most things though do have like Web3 functionality where it's easier to integrate with the ledger because it's just a much more popular wallet. But it's good that you're at least going out to get cold storage. I always say not your keys, not your crypto. Let's go back to the subject you were talking about before, Steak, the ISO standards.
Yeah, here's the funny thing. I'm reading that Swift article right now, and one of the things that always blows my mind is that it actually gives a timeline. And you guys are much more versed in the entire EcoSwiss system regarding XRP or Ripple. So what's the connection between Ripple or XRP in regards to the Bank of England? Is there any?
Oh, the ECB? Yeah, they've been working together since at least they talked about it in 2019. You have plenty of pictures of like Christine Lagarde and,
At least 2015.
Bank of England, not Europe. Bank of England.
Yeah. 2015, maybe even 2014. The Bank of England is a real leader. Oh yeah, the Bank of England has done exceptional work. They really have done a good job, and they've been right there at the forefront from the beginning.
Yeah, it seems so, because the LEI standard is something they've come up with, the identifier, and it's going to be introduced in ISO 20022 standard CHAPS payment, CHAPS. Doesn't ring a bell to me, but maybe to you.
Oh, that does sound familiar. Why?
And it's going to be phase 2.1 is going to be February next year. And it will be introduced in the ISO standard, but it's optional to cent basis, but they'll encourage everyone to use an LEI as early as possible. Once the DP is capable of sending enhanced data, whatever that may mean, but it's going to be made mandatory in the spring of 2024.
Yeah, 24 is when it seems like a lot of things are being pushed to be the standard by 2024.
Well, that's when the adoption period is concluded. I mean, you've got only X amount of time, 2 years, to adopt.
So basically, that's going to be the end of the recession.
Oh, that's great.
That is yet to come. The recession is yet to come, but that's basically going to be the end of it.
I don't know if I want to look at it that way, Steak. I mean, I don't know if that.
Oh, sorry. Is that a little bit too doom and gloom for you?
Well, so what makes you think that?
Well, if you get adoption, you get funds rolling.
Yeah. So even with this messaging standard per se, right? Because there are still plenty of financial institutions that have used it all over the world for many of years. It doesn't solve the liquidity crisis or that nostro vostro locked up funds that's something like
No,
a
but
based, right?
that's true. But here's the list of the institutional things that need to register and be compliant with this mandate in the spring of 2024. Prudential Regulation Authority, PRA, authorized deposit takers or broker dealers, which are exchanges, or a financial market infrastructure supervised by the Bank of England.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I can imagine them probably utilizing a Ripple, type partner. Maybe probably Ripple themselves, if not, to comply with those standards.
The thing is, if you're not compliant by the end of the adoption period, you're out of business. Like you're off the playing field. Goodbye.
Yeah, naturally. Yeah, I can see that happening.
So CHAPS was an acronym for Clearinghouse Automated Payment Systems, right? Just saw y'all talking about that.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Clearinghouse Automated Payment Systems. That would make sense. That's why it sounded so familiar.
What, chaps?
Chaps, yeah.
I know I heard that before.
Yeah,
I'm just not really sure.
yeah, what Costa said, Clearinghouse Automated Payment System. It's just acronyms sometimes,
I pinned a tweet with 4 of these things in the same tweet, and I pinned it to the top, so you guys can read up on the articles with the source in it, that they're where it comes from.
I've been
So where I think there's a little bit of a leap of some assumptions, not saying on anyone's behalf in this chat or anything, but just in general, is that yes, there's a lot of improvements and innovations that are coming to the world of like moving value. But I think we have to be cautious of assuming that just because they're changing the settlement rails, that'll be any one particular asset that will be used, right? I think they'll probably settle initially in the assets that they've traditionally been settling in, unless there's a specific need or cost advantage that, you know, says otherwise. So I think a lot of this ISO and improvements, CHAPS, real-time payment systems, right? They're all great improvements, but I hope people are not making a leap to making an assumption that it automatically means that crypto is going to be the settlement mechanism in any particular form.
Good point. But from a competition point of view, if your competitor is able to settle in 5 seconds where you take 3 days, that's a massive disadvantage. So I think they're either gonna have to keep up or not. What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of alluding to is that you can get those same advantages of 3 second settlement when you start having digitized representations of fiat on these systems, right? So you're going to be able to achieve that same benefits that you're getting via crypto with digital representations of fiat. So I don't think that's kind of what I'm cautioning against. The crypto element will be for specific kind of exotic situations where it can't be beat even in a fiat dynamic.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah. Well, so because when I look at the XRP ledger, right, I see a clearinghouse, right, and so I could see a DLT based solution being the base layer for them using it as a clearinghouse, and so I mean in that regard, it kind of makes sense if you even categorize it as a CHAPS, right. Um, Automated payment center, because you really just if you could just put AI into it, right, have this AMM, I mean it's you essentially could use that as that clearinghouse layer.
Well, Death, you're the only other person I've ever heard say XRP Ledger is a clearinghouse. I actually thought that for about a year and a half or so before I said it publicly, because I don't know, I just kept it to myself.
Yeah, I mean it goes towards what David Schwartz has always said, like it's a public good, right? Well, a clearinghouse is a public good.
Yeah, and the XRP token is access to the clearinghouse. It's people pay a lot of money for that. Like, what do you think the business model for like the not nowadays? Well, yeah, I guess still nowadays, but at least originally, like the business model for the New York Stock Exchange, it was basically they sold the seats. So when you look at the old movies of like the New York Stock Exchange, and you got that guy up in the thingamajigger, he's the specialist. He's the market maker, liquidity provider, whatever you want to call him. Specialist is what they used to call him. And everybody's screaming and yelling at the guy, right? Well, he's the guy running the order book. And he pays for the right to basically rent that podium that everybody screams and yells at. And that's the business model of the New York Stock Exchange. They rent basically podiums. They don't care what the stocks are doing. They just rent podiums.
But in the RippleNet kind of scenario, is it kind of Ripple eating a lot of those fees to where the actual participants don't even have to have XRP to access the clearinghouse, right? They just have to be willing to use it. And I think that's what makes it kind of so brilliant. And at the end of the day, is these people don't have to change anything that they do about their actual business in order to get the benefits of having crypto settlement in the situations where it becomes better cost and better speed. So.
Exactly. Most people will use it and not even realize it.
Yeah, it'll be under the hood. Nobody will know. Just like most people can't explain to you how the engine in their car works. All they know is I turn the key like this, or I push the button, and then I put my foot on this pedal, and that one makes it go, and that one makes it stop, and then this wheel thingy makes it change directions. And that's about all most people know. That's it. They're never.
So sorry, Karma. But eventually, sorry. But eventually you have to say that people don't even will realize that you're using it, but NFTs and everything will eventually be on the XRPL, so it won't be long before people know that what they are doing, that they are using the XRPL. I mean,
yeah, in that sense, maybe, right? In that sense, if you're directly utilizing, in the sense of a gaming, maybe you own an NFT with a game platform, that, or maybe you don't even know, right? Maybe you're just able to take this item from one game to the next, and you don't even think about. Most people will not, probably most likely, really don't think about the underlying technology. But what if you have this ease of ability to just go from game to game to game, whether they're associated with themselves or not?
Here's my take on NFTs. I always thought that the brilliance of NFTs was that it was a one-on-one. So in that sense, I always seen it as some sort of fundamental technology for your credentials. So have your birth certificate in an NFT, have your death certificate in an NFT, have your diploma in an NFT, stuff like that. And I still have a hard time wrapping my head around bit art as a benefit to society. But maybe I'm just a moron that doesn't understand NFTs.
I would say with most dramatic changes in the ecosystem, and the ecosystem being the entire world, right? It's usually a cultural movement that starts like through humanity, and so it's really what is culture, right? To humans, culture is art, I think, for the most part, and that's, I think, why we see the innovative stage of humanity, which is that very small percentage, flourish with the new technology in a cultural sense first, and then more adaptive and finding out what we can do with it and the utility behind it. And me personally, at least, that's what I think.
yeah, because you have the once Facebook came out, there wasn't many people that had Facebook, but if it will be like you sign in everywhere with your Exum account, I will see Exum be at least as big as Facebook.
I don't get some of the stuff. I mean, I kind of agree with your sentiment a little bit. I want to know, like, what the hell can I use this thing for? Right? I mean, as useless as it may be, at least a physical painting I could like hang on the wall. Right? Like, who gives a shit? It's a thing on the wall. Great. Now I got a thing on the wall. But at least there's a thing on the wall. I don't understand some of the NFT stuff. It reeks to high heaven to me. There's something goofy.
Yeah, NFTs or NFTs, but I see Zoom be like your universal identity or something like that. I see that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think NFTs are a multi-quadrillion-dollar idea. I think having a unique identifier that can be validated on a chain that's public is huge. We just have to make sure the most important thing is how we can prove at all times that what you own is truly yours and not somebody else's, right? Like,
I do think there's, for the functionality set that NFTs offer, I think there's definitely multiple use cases that would really create value and help improve markets and all kinds of positive things. But for some of this art, like NFT stuff, and I'm sorry for anybody that is into like art NFTs, but I think it's actually could improve the art industry because, gosh, I've been shocked at how bad the artists are treated. It's not right. Anyway, the I don't. It's just identity, real estate, car titles. I can see uses in insurance. I can see. I mean, there's all sorts of use cases for NFTs.
Yeah, music NFTs are huge as well. Will like unchain the artists totally.
Well, the artists, I've been shocked at what I've learned about the art world because that's like not a world I've ever really looked at or like an industry that I've looked into. Yeah, I've been absolutely shocked at how much the galleries take from the artists and how little the artists get. No wonder you have this starving artist meme. They get all their work gets paid to somebody else.
What do you think about musicians?
Well,
Same story.
yeah, but you know what? I was just talking about this the other day. Radiohead was one of the first bands, and I was like, wow, like, dude, what a set of cojones to pull this move. They freaking were the first band to put their album out for free download. Right? You could just go to the website and download it for free, but you could tip them. You didn't have to tip them.
It was an old. It was an old our album, 2 albums covered together with a VR experience as well. I got it at home. It's fucking brilliant.
I don't know. I mean, I never did it. One of my buddies was really into them at the time, and I was like, wait a second. You're telling me these guys put their shit up on there for free? And they just like said, like, hey, if you want to pay us, you can. And
well, if you want to have an experience that's close to what a metaverse could bring you in a VR AR setting, as in regards to a new music album from an artist dropping, definitely download their album that they put online. You can do it on a console, but also on a computer. It launched 6 months ago, I think. It's probably not the one you're mentioning, Karma, but worth a shout out.
No, this was years ago. This was probably like a 405-ish. They were the first ones to ever do that. But see, the thing was, they completely went around the record label. So when you paid, your $10 that you wanted to tip, you didn't have to, but if you wanted to tip them $10, like they got the $10. There wasn't a record label with their hand in the cookie jar. It was a baller move, man. Like, really, from a business point of view, it was a baller move.
Yeah, I know there's a woman in crypto that does music for her own album on NFTs, and normally if you get like 1 million listeners, you get like $12. That's the revenue, and she got 49,000 of those 1 million listeners. It's really remarkable how much of a difference it makes when it cuts out the middleman, because all the money goes straight to the artist.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm surprised the label let them do that.
Well, they'll have to, and so this is, I think, a lot of this all over the place is like a change of a business model that has to occur, and yeah, I think that's one thing. Like we'll have to see how you know these big industries try and like still survive with this new model change.
It's kind of interesting though. Like music for a long time in the past decades, whether people like to admit it or not, but has been used as some sort of cultural propaganda type of thing. And uh, this might be a hot topic, but maybe geopolitically it's no longer worth it, and it's something that's easy to give up. But I'm all for it. If we finally get some music again that comes straight from the artist instead of some bullshit from a label, then more to
Well,
us.
this is part of why I think I guess the concept, the umbrella concept, would be web monetization, but like some of what Coil is doing and bringing a new business model to the internet, because right now basically it's only advertising. I mean, whether it's subscriptions or literal ads, or it's one form of advertising or another. And what that does is that sort of perverts the content creators thinking, right? Because like at some point you got to like pay your bills, so you got to make some money, right? So you got to sell like more magazines or whatever, newspapers, whatever it is, dime novels, and then so you end up making more and more salacious material because like, fear and sex sells, and that's great, I guess. I don't know, it is what it is. And so like if you actually want to do like something that's not like that, then you don't sell, and then you go out of business, and then you don't create any more content, right? It's just how it works. If you have the web monetization and people can just get paid for consuming your content, and if they don't want to watch the whole video, they're not stuck buying a subscription. They're not stuck paying for the whole video, even though they only watched a quarter of it. They pay for the quarter that they watched, right? Like there's all of this. It's just a complete change in the incentive structure, and I think it's a really powerful sort of thing with that'll impact many industries. It's just a different way of thinking because, yeah, right now the internet's just completely advertising. It's an advertising revenue model. The entire network, the whole internet.
Yeah,
It's advertising.
No, I think you're losing service there, Slime. Sauce Slime. He's changed his name. Yeah, he changed his
Okay.
name. You there? I heard you there.
Can you guys?
This is why I think like what Coil and Interledger Protocol and Internet of Value, all this stuff, like this stuff is so important because if we can enable the internet, right, that connects humanity, to have an alternative business model besides like, hi, I'm a sellout, I'll show your ads, right? Like if you can enable some people to just like be like who they are and what they're focused on and what they're good at, then I think that'll be a good thing. Instead of having to take these people that are good at say something A and then make them talk about or do something regarding some advertisement for subject B. Like, no one gives a shit about B. Like, this person's good at A, let them do that.
Did I get rugged, or it's just turned really quiet? Well,
I don't know. I was about to say, it looks like you're talking, but I wasn't hearing anything. Can you hear?
Yeah, I hear you. But if anybody in the audience has any questions about anything that's been talked about, or has any subject matter that they'd like to bring up, it's on the top of their mind, please feel free to hit the request, guys. Come up and chat with us. We do these, Monday through Friday, and we're on Saturday and Sunday also, pretty much. We're really just here to help educate and garner education from as many people as we possibly can in the community, and really, it's really so valuable, not only to me, to Karma, but I hope everybody else finds it valuable in the future, that listens to this space. We always have new people coming in, and I am sure a year or two from now, when there are a larger number of people that are in the space, I think that people will still be listening to this information. So it's good that we talk about this stuff every day.
Yeah, I think it's good to talk about the details and stuff. But there's all sorts of different details and perspectives. That's the crazy part.
The thing I find with it's like every 2 years, it seems like there's a fresh amount of people in the space that doubled the size of the overall amount of people that are actually communicating and researching things. It's really interesting to have watched.
It's definitely grown. No doubt about that.
Well, like the majority of people that are here in this space right now have came in the last 3 years. I don't know if everybody else feels that way, but the majority of the time, I feel like I hear everybody say they came in right around 2020.
Well, I'm part of that group, so I don't know how it was before that, but it makes sense, and I think it's going to be even bigger than that in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's definitely only growing. Yeah.
It's going to grow exponentially too.
Like one of the summits that was hosted this week with some major players in Europe in regards to Web3 and micro-regulation, they were already talking about pushing the accessibility agenda. So they're already looking way ahead of this US legislation agenda, and are already looking at onboarding people on the network.
Accessibility is that's a new way I've heard of the same concept that they've been talking about for years. Under like serving the unbanked.
Yeah, it's the marketing agenda, but it's not serving the unbanked. It's in regards to the European Union. Everyone is banked in the European Union, almost everyone. This is in regards to your European wallet.
What do you mean your European wallet?
Well, everyone in Europe is going to get the same digital identity wallet with your digital euro.
So like your bank account or what?
Yeah, it's dressed like your commercial bank account. You just update your app, but in the background, it's no longer a fiat euro, it's a digital euro.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. I mean, what else do you expect?
Yeah, and they're talking about the agenda on how to onboard people, like the accessibility to onboard the masses on blockchain, I guess, or on a CBDC. It's just weird to witness all this shit that I, along with many of you, have been speculating about for a long time, and you kind of just see it playing real life in the news. It's just.
I agree with you. It is very interesting. Like, this is the reason I'm still here. Like, it's very interesting.
It's getting more interesting by the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, like it, and just and large yes. But the also it's like if you kind of understand a little bit about how the like machine like works, like at some point you have to hit the like, well, what else do you expect button. Like that's how it works.
Yeah,
What other outcome would you possibly anticipate? I don't, you know, like yeah, that's, oh, you have a technology that can do the doing better than the old technology can do, so you're just gonna like not use the new technology because you just want to suck. Like that doesn't make any sense. You're
yeah,
gonna
for
pick
me,
up the new technology and you're gonna do better. Like,
yeah, I know, and that's what I like about you, Karma, because I can learn a lot about it from your background as a financial engineer. From- Basically, that's something I don't have. But for me, it's very interesting the point where math stops and geopolitics and human psychology takes over in decision making, because that's when you can throw all the TA models out of the window.
well,
And
I
it's
I
just
don't know if you were in here the other day, but I went on a little bit of a rant, and I was like, you know, the problem comes when the financial accounting and finance got and they get caught up in their numbers, and they lose sight of the humans, because you have no economy without humans. You just if you get rid of the humans, there's no more, there's no economy for you to play with your stupid numbers, right? So
exactly, exactly.
you gotta keep an eye on the humans,
For
and
example,
this is why I say, you know, in a sense, finance and some to some degree investing, if you will, it's like anthropology through numbers, because you have to see the people, you have to see what the people are doing, um, and then that determines where the value creation comes from, because the value is an opinion. Well, where's the opinion held? Well, the opinion is held collectively in the heads of all these people who are market participants, right?
that's
So if
why
you don't have any clue about the people, how do you know what the hell their opinion of value is? And if you don't know their opinion of value, how do you expect to create, you know, buy something that's going to improve in value? It's insane to think otherwise. You
yeah,
got to know the people.
I agree. And also it's not, I know you don't like the topic of politics, and I won't necessarily go there, but I'll address it from a historical point of view. It's not that difficult from both a European and an American perspective to see that if you have competition from BRICS, or you might have competition from BRICS, that it would make sense for the euro and the dollar to get to grow more towards one another. I don't think that's far-fetched based on
I,
uh
I can see that.
and just based on the people, right? Just based on the people and the history behind it, it's the most obvious thing to happen. I can rather see Europe siding with the US and vice versa than any of them with China. So it just makes more sense. It's and there's just more weight behind it. And then if you look at that and like the trade agreements following it here, it's all I always um looked at crypto, and then I looked at crypto in regards to Bitcoin, and then I looked at the S&P 500 in regards to what Bitcoin would be doing, and then you look at the S&P 500 and you look at geopolitics, and you're like, yeah, it's all connected, and you can shut your eyes from it, or disregard it. But I do think that it is a very, very big factor, maybe even a bigger factor than just math, in knowing what people will choose and what agendas they want to see come to fruition. Um, anyway, I don't want to turn it into politics or geopolitics. So, Wolf of God, if you get a different topic, please save me.
No, I was just wondering real quick, is there anyone that knows what the XLS upgrade that made the trust lines on the XRPL available?
Are you asking what the little possibility of the the attack vector with the flag. Are you talking about?
No, I'm thinking back in the days, was it voted on to get the trust lines available to set up on the XRPL? Or has it been?
Oh yeah, somebody like we'd say, built like ease of functionality to access the trust lines, but yeah, I mean you couldn't access it until the amendment was passed to add trust lines.
Yeah. So what amendment was that? Do you know the number of it? XLS, what the number was?
I don't know the number, but there was an amendment, but I don't think it's passed or even been proposed yet. That it's like a lighter weight trust line.
Is it speaking about the ZFC, or what is it called?
That might have been it.
Yeah, I wonder. Chris is coming up. I wonder if he can speak on it.
Yeah, there's
Maybe,
but I don't think that's even been proposed yet. But basically, it just makes the trust line object a lighter load on the ledger.
Okay, yeah, because I was reading a little bit about it. They set of XLS 33 or something.
Chris, do you know what I'm talking about better than I do?
Yeah. So that's kind of two account levels, right? So you'd be able to have a wallet that doesn't have access to everything that a normal wallet would have. So it'd be kind of like a wallet light, and it would have a lower wallet and trust line holds, but it wouldn't have all the same functionalities as a normal wallet as we know it today would have. That's a pretty old idea that WeT had put forward. Definitely more than a year. I can't remember when that came out, but it's not as far as I know, it's not like a proposed amendment. It's kind of well written, but I don't know that that's something that's actually going to go forward.
I feel like I heard about that light wallet, the light account, since that's all the way back in 2019 already. I think. I feel like I heard somebody say something about that before. Or remember reading it.
It's a great idea, I think, because
You're breaking up. At least I can't hear you.
it's something that I think kind of. I'm driving, so I'm probably going to be terrible for a bit
Yeah,
here.
yeah, you broke up. We didn't hear pretty much anything you said there.
The loss of packaging is giving me an aneurysm.
But I think what he's saying though is the light wallet, if I remember correctly, you could only really transact in sending tokens back and forth for either XRP or trust lines, and so it was much lighter load of a account, I guess, bit, right? I don't know. Much.
Would it like not have the ability to like engage the pathfinding function?
I'm not sure about that pathfinding functionality, but I know that storage wise, for the XRP ledger, like for a full history node, it was a lot lighter on the having to, store information.
I could see if it couldn't do pathfinding and it couldn't engage with order books.
I don't know if am I better now? I'm on the top of the hill this time.
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
So yeah, one thing I think that would be great for is onboarding customers to Casino Coin as an example, where it would be a lot cheaper for them to set up their wallet, and then be able to just go straight into the Casino Coin if that's what they were interested in. The other one would be more of cold storage, right? Why have like why wouldn't you have just a light wallet if it's just going to go into deep storage and not be touched? So that I could see that being something that maybe we could look at again.
Yeah,
as
that
far
makes
as I
so much
know,
sense.
it's been looked at now.
It makes a lot of sense.
I'm not sure I understand that. Why would that what would Casino Coin care? I'm not. What's the functionality?
Well, the ledger would care. But so, like, say if you were going to get a casino and you were going to use Casino Coin, right? You don't need this wallet with all of these different account features that you're able to access and do on the ledger, right? You could really just make it. You could just spend the tokens, and so, or like he said, in that sense of just storage. If you're just storing it, you don't need this big bulky account. You could just have a light account, and it just holds the tokens, and so you use that as storage.
Yeah, so my example with Casino Coin would be more of like you're going to onboard your mom and she's just going to play games, right? She's not interested in all the DEX tools. She's just interested in, hitting that slot button and losing all her money.
Okay. I can see that.
Making it simple.
It's just an account. Essentially you're talking about a wallet that just doesn't have access to the full functional capacity of the ledger. They get a limited use account, basically.
Yeah. And in turn, less storage taken up on the XRP ledger's full history notes. If I got that right, Chris.
But is that the same thing as that limited? That I don't know why they called it a one-way trust line, because trust lines are already one way. But is that the same thing as the trust line thing they were talking about?
Well, trust lines are two ways. You need to have an open trust line on both ends, right? Like, I could close that trust line to you.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was weird they called it a one-way trust line. I was like, aren't trust lines one way? Isn't that how they work anyhow? But I guess it was a lighter load on the ledger.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to go take a look at that. We have a couple people up that haven't spoken yet. If you guys would like to speak up, I'm, FOMO and Dennis and Gene. Always happy to hear when you guys speak, especially Gene. I always like when you come up, man.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit towards that light account. The light account is basically taking away the ability to add like the trust lines, create escrows, pay checks, use payment channels, and so forth. Vitsa, I think, has still got the plan to use that later on with something he's trying to, with that payment ramp that he's trying to build into some. I think that he's talked about it before, saying that he had some ideas to bring that light account into use over there. And the amendment is, if anyone wants to look it up, it's XLS 23D. You can go read about the actual technicalities of it. But anyhow, yeah, it's got its pros and cons, right? I mean, it can bring more users onto the XRPL, but it does open up some quote unquote spamming of the ledger at the end of the day, that people could just be creating a bunch of these accounts and just putting up junk. So
yeah,
anyhow,
question for you, FOMO, not to interrupt you, but would bug bounties include, like, in a sense, like for my concept of a bug bounty, it's kind of like what you're talking about with accounts. I think of like botnets in a sense. So like creating like an IDS or maybe a POC for an IDS so that you can detect like botnet activity. Is that something that would be accepted by the XRPL?
I'm not too sure exactly what they've got written for their bug bounties. I think if you go to the bug bounty page, they'll define it exactly, but I think you would need to identify a part of the code that's actually kind of like causing an issue onto the XRPL and a way to fix it. I don't even know if you have to provide that way to fix it just to bring forward the issue. But like detecting botnets or something like that, that's the reason why kind of light accounts and NFTs and these things of bringing extra activity onto the XRPL are something that validators worry about, because at the end of the day, they could be used in malicious ways. For instance, like doing it via a botnet or something that's just spamming the ledger and taking all the resources away from people that are actually trying to save value around and just sending spam at the end of the day across the ledger, right? And that's why there's those fees of 5 XRP here and 2 XRP there and so forth. To you can't stop it, but the way to quote unquote stop it is to put a cost on it, and that the cost is then something that the botnet has to be able to overcome in their logic to be able to spam, right? And that's the barrier. So that's how the XRPL deals with a lot of, or the designers of the XRPL deal with a lot of malicious, not activity, but malicious intent against the XRPL. That's the way that they design the underlying objects and everything that gets stored into the ledger.
Well, that was awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, because I was thinking, like, even if it's something as small as like the IDS looking for like SSH or brute force attempts and then kind of like scaling up from them, I feel like that would be somewhat beneficial. Because, like you said, you can't really like stop it in a sense because, you know, botnet's a whole nother like topic in itself, but just to kind of slow it down. But no, I'll definitely take a look at the bug bounties and, you know, what they're looking for. Thank you for your information, FOMO.
So I found it. It's kind of old. It's like over a year old. I'm shocked I've never heard of it. Is that the right one you're talking about, FOMO?
What was that, XLS23?
Yeah.
Oh, is it 23D? I thought it was 22D.
Yeah. I've got a bounce with it, but I'll be around.
Yep. Thank you, man.
So WPA3. ...
What was that? Yes, so you broke up first.
Has everyone been upgrading the home networks to WPA3? Or at least have them
Not
to
yet.
WPA2, WPA3. Go ahead, Death Ranger.
I don't think I have WPA3 actually. Let me look that up now because my router's maybe in the last year or two, but I don't know if that was WPA3. We were talking about it the other day. Pretty sure it's not.
Because Wi-Fi 5, in a sense, is still technically WPA2. But, like, I know it was, like, WPA2 Personal and WPA2 Enterprise. And essentially, like, Personal Enterprise, you just kind of break it down. It's like one is, like, you know, your home, and another one's kind of like your business or, like, an overall, like, enterprise. Like, I mean, however big you scale the business. I'm sure Cromer can speak on that as well. But WPA3 is 192-bit security, as opposed to, you know, the typical 128-bit security, because the home network is using, you know, AES 128 typically, and now we want to upgrade to 192. So there's actual like forward secrecy, meaning that, you know, if you know, actors, I mean,
Secrecy.
go ahead, Comer.
What does forward secrecy mean?
I say forward secrecy in a sense is that it's still kind of like, even if there is an attacker on the network, the traffic is still encrypted. So it's a bit harder for that attacker to actually decrypt what you're actually doing on the network to where they could see it. It doesn't mean you shouldn't change your password or make your password any longer, in a sense. Like I would say this, like, your home network, like your Wi-Fi password should be greater than 15 characters. It sounds like a lot, but someone could use, like a Wi-Fi pineapple and kind of like brute force your password.
A Wi-Fi pineapple? What is?
It's one of those red team
I mean,
created. I don't know where
it's what?
it's a red team tool. I don't know why they call it Wi-Fi pineapple. Like pineapple says, you see like more extra antennas are on the router itself. Because they're using it.
You're breaking up.
Say just real quick, while FOMO's in the room, because I don't want to mischaracterize his work, but I know for a long time, there were a lot of narratives about Ripple is enterprise and XLM is retail. But I think what FOMO is doing, if I understand his product right, is he's actually went in and built kind of a retail-facing product, or is building a retail-facing product to kind of facilitate some of these value transfers. And I think, if I'm understanding you right, that is an amazing, amazing product. So I wanted to get understanding it right, because I think what you're building is amazing.
Well, I don't know if he's not on at the moment, but I think he's doing good work for sure. I would agree.
Did we lose Costa?
Maybe. Looks like he's connecting.
Twitter has been unforgiving lately.
It really has kind of been wonky in the last couple days.
I had a conversation with someone and we were talking about how SHA-1 is like an outdated cryptographic protocol that's being used to like hash your information, where it could be, unhashed almost easily now with the way computers are now. And Twitter actually, like, someone responded to it. I think it was NY responded to it, and his response was just like kind of like a joke towards it, and they like censored it. It was weird, and it wasn't until I had put out a comment and called them out for it that they uncensored it. Have you guys noticed that, like conversations within Twitter itself, it may not even be something offensive someone's saying, but it just they'll mark it as like offensive language, or warning you may not be able, or you may not want to see what this person's put in.
The only time I've seen that was several years ago. A bunch of people that had Twitter accounts that were like part of the Ripple community, everybody got banned at the same time. And I think what they did was a bunch of they probably had a bunch of bots and whatnot say that we were saying that each account was saying like offensive things, or like marking their comments as offensive or something. It was weird. I mean, I hadn't like even sent a tweet for a month and I got banned for offensive content. It was like, what? Okay, cool. Yeah, but I don't know. They do that. They have algorithms for this stuff. That's the only time I know about that kind of thing, though.
Anybody going to mainnet this week?
What do you mean the mainnet?
It's a crypto conference hosted by Masari in New York City, happening this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh no, are you going?
I'm going for business, but I am really looking forward to a talk where I think they're giving like it's definitely like a typical Brad Garlinghouse like main attraction event. It's gonna be Brad and Ryan Silkus on the same stage, and pouring gasoline all over each other with a handful of matches.
Brad and who?
The founder of Masari, 2-Bit Idiot, I think is his Twitter handle.
No.
Ryan he's a vocal character in the space.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a little bit awkward.
he's been not an XRP fan for as long as I've known of him.
No, that'll be interesting. Whatever.
I mean, it's better. Look, I don't know if I shared it in one of these spaces, but I saw Brad talk at Consensus, and it was a packed house, like way more people than I would have expected. And other than him like dropping a couple of F-bombs, it was pretty much like canned copy of everything he says in public. And so, I mean, at least here, there's opportunity for some fireworks. So it might be a little different, but who knows?
I think Brad's pretty. How do I say that? I mean, he's a professional, man. He's on point. He knows his points. He knows what he's going to set his, what he's going the concepts he's going to communicate, and he sticks to it.
I think Brad's great, but I think him and his comms team are pretty well aware that like whatever he says is going to be picked up by like 6 or 7 different media outlets and twittered and blasted all over the internet. So I mean, I get that he's being careful a lot of times, but it's kind of like when you go. I don't know if anyone's ever like toured with a band or watched a comedian 2 times. It's like when you see the same set twice in a row, like that's the feeling. Like where you're just like, okay, all right, I know this story. I know how this song goes.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it doesn't change though. Like that's the. But I guess what do they like? You call it like, okay, if you want to make a music analogy, like what's a hit? Well, a hit is one stupid song that is sold a gazillion times, again and again and again. Same song. They just keep selling the same song again and again and again.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But then like when and I think I'll do my best to beat this analogy to a pulp. Like it, when you go to see them live, you want to see like I don't know, lead singer jump on the drums if it's the Foo Fighters, or you want to see like a special guest come in and get lowered down, like to do guitar solo or something different. At least that's me. I mean, I know a lot of people go to a concert and not care about that stuff, but for me, it's like I'd rather just play the CD at home or listen to it on Spotify at home, if it's going to be the exact same thing. But it's I think there will probably be like a bunch of scripted responses that he's rehearsed and prepared for, and obviously has to watch what he says because of the lawsuit. But at least when you have like the epitome of the XRPL antagonist and protagonist on the same stage, like something's gonna happen.
Well, I don't know. That'll be fun. It's
I mean, it's gonna be tame because obviously Ryan Selkis is the founder of the company that's hosting the event. So, like they planned it out to get a lot of eyeballs, but I'm sure they're gonna rein in some of the stuff you'd say if it was like a one-on-one off the record conversation.
well, I just got well, I haven't completely finished booking my Interledger Protocol New Orleans trip, but I'm going to do that here probably tonight or tomorrow.
Nice. What's going on in New Orleans?
I'm pretty sure. I think it might be actually the first Interledger Protocol conference or something. But there's a couple of people that I've connected, and that I want to, and I think I want to go out there. It'll be a good thing.
Well, yeah, first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, it's not till November. It's not like tomorrow or anything. But
interesting.
Yeah, there's the couple of guys that I've put together that I felt like their works were could be combined or were synergistic or what have you. And they're going to be out there, and there's some other people that I've talked to for a few years that are going to be out there. So I figure I'll probably go.
If anybody wants
When was that, Karma?
the light account amendment, I posted it up top.
When was that event in New Orleans? You said, Karma?
In November.
Yeah, and I've never been to New Orleans, so I kind of always have been interested to go to New Orleans, and I figure that's cool. Why not?
Yeah, I just found it. I posted it. Pretty cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Sweet. Thanks for putting up there, Dennis.
Although I did tell my wife that conference season is going to settle down in November, so if I do go, it'll probably have to be my last one until the spring.
Hey, if you go, man, I'll definitely hang out with you. Like, that would be great. I'm excited. The thing is, it's right. Swell is in London, I think, that same week. Obviously, I'm not going to go over there. That's a little bit too far. But yeah, I think the Interledger guys, this is a little more of the core. How do you say that? Internet of Value folks. Right? Like, not the Bitcoin maxi, ETH maxi, XRP maxi, whatever all the other freaking the Internet of or Interledger Protocol is like, yep, let's just connect it all together. Right?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
You do what you do good, and we're just going to connect you with everybody else. And so you do what you do.
That's why I love it. It's funny, the Interledger Protocol is the whole reason I got into the DLT space.
Really?
Because it's the I knew about blockchain back in 2011 because of Bitcoin, and in 2013, 2014, I saw everything that was going on with XRP and Ripple and the forums and stuff, right? But I don't get involved until 2015 with the Interledger Protocol. That's really what got me interested in everything. Such a
Interledger Protocol was one of the couple of things the Ripple team cranked out that blew my mind. This was like a conceptual leap from where the concept was to now it's up here.
Yeah, and it's not every day you see some great achievement like the ILP created and then gifted to a consortium like the W3C, and then adopted by players like Mojo Loop.
Oh yeah, it was to give away. My goodness, to give away such profound thinking, and to just give it away. I mean, it's both ballsy, brilliant, And I don't know, like, I mean, it's just not the common type of behavior that you see. Like normally you would take thinking like that and you would protect it as much as you could and try and profit off, and they gave it away. Just gave it away.
Give it away.
But see, the strategic brilliance there is that is they forced by giving it away, right? Now everybody has to play on a level playing field, right? So they're like, okay, you guys want to compete, boom, level playing field. Technologically, we'll worry about the stupid lawyers later. But technologically, the it's a level playing field once you have interledger protocol. So that means each ledger has to compete for its place in the world and for its market or whatever customers it serves. And it was basically like Ripple saying, hey, we're pretty sure we're better than you, so let's throw down the gauntlet. We'll just throw this innovation out there. As big as it, interledger protocol, as big of an innovation as that is, we're just going to throw that out there for free because we know we're going to force you other ledgers to play on our field, and we're going to play by our rules, and we're going to outcompete you.
And also, they didn't sacrifice security by making a lot of software open source. It's an open source platform. Because anytime something's proprietary, security is like kind of going down the drain. Go ahead, Karma.
Are you saying interledger protocol? I mean, that's all. It's just a protocol.
Anything in general, any type of software that you're using, any type of technology. I think about it from a long-term standpoint, like an overall standpoint. The minute you make something proprietary, there's limitations. There's less of a community, or there's less of a community drive to fix those issues, as opposed to waiting for this one person to kind of fix everything, or one entity to, as opposed to multiple entities fixing that same issue. It's kind of like, let's say a car is like flipped over, and I saw a video of this, and multiple people working together to flip the car back over versus just waiting for someone to come in with this machine to do all the work.
Yeah, but I mean, I get what you're saying, but I don't know that I'd say, like, generally speaking, open source is more secure than proprietary. I think in a lot of cases, people are afraid to open source because it might expose some exploits or some unfinished features, some security vulnerabilities. But I see what you're saying. I mean, if you have community behind it and you've got enough diverse of a crowd supporting it, that makes sense. But that's not been my experience working with developers.
I mean, think about it when it was with Solana, and when they had that hack, it was literally because someone who was hosting like the wallets was using proprietary software. That's why it took so long for them to patch up those issues or those bugs. It was because there was limitations in the first place. There's a time for things being proprietary, and there's a time for things to not be proprietary. But the less things are proprietary, it's much better overall, for the community.
I agree on that for sure. I think there's a lot of variables, but generally speaking, level of interest and level of engagement, and how many people are submitting PRs, and how many people are like actively contributing to the code. Like, if you've got a large number that are interested in that or doing that, then for sure open source is the way to go. But I've seen like security vulnerabilities and open source code kind of like on an inverse relationship. Um, in a lot of cases, not not in all cases, obviously, but in a lot. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like that. There's a time for it, and there's a time to not have it, open source. There's a time for things to be proprietary or not. Just think about it like Linux overall. We wouldn't have half of the stuff we have without Linux being open source. And it's from a scalability standpoint where I like things being open source.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also, open source, just like decentralization, it's a spectrum. It's very rare to have an entire system open sourced. Usually, or even like, if you're talking about like governance and community input and voting, like more often than not, open source is like a buzzword headline that people use to check the box and say, yes, it's open source. But then if you like peel it back a little bit, you're like, oh, okay, only this part's open source, but they still have like the secret sauce under lock and key.
Even Ripple took it was Gateway D back then, and then they took that code off of GitHub and made it closed source. And then I think off of that they developed Xcurrent. So that's what I think happened. I don't have any proof of that or anything, but it seems like it makes sense.
So what? I've been a little out of the loop with travel lately. Like, what's the status with XLS20? Are we past voting yet, or where are we at?
So there was a flag that and I think, guys, by the way, we're gonna end the space in like 5 more minutes. So if anybody has any last minute questions, please raise your hand, come up and ask them. But for the XLS20, there was a flag that had the possibility of having somebody spam different royalties from different trust lines, forcing the wallet to spend XRP and suck it up to be able to afford to have the trust lines. And although it was kind of like a counterintuitive, because you kind of have to sabotage yourself because you have to also have the trust lines to be able to do that, they are getting rid of the flag. But what I think is going to happen is going to be everybody's going to vote in the XLS20 as it was, and then they'll vote in for the fix later on. And so hopefully they jump on that quickly and start voting in the next week or so. I don't know. There's no real deadline, I would say, but hopefully not more than another month. Yeah. Got to get the attention of all the validators again.
And something that I would like everyone to kind of look into, at least, cryptography for a lot of people can be kind of boring, but at the same time, it can be enlightening. Look into Kirchhoff's principle, where, a crypto system should be secure even if everything about the system, except for the key, meaning like the password, is public knowledge.
What was that, Gene? You said look into
Kirchhoff's principle. So Kirchhoff's principle was that a crypto system should be secure even if everything about the system except for the key is public knowledge. Meaning the key could be a password. As an example, you can take key as however you want to, but it's just something to kind of expand your viewpoints on.
What was his name? It was
it's a principle. It's a Kirchhoff's principle was actually pre-formulated by Claude Shannon.
Usually people name things after themselves. I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, but yeah. I will take a look at that, Gene.
Oh yeah, look. So Kirchhoff's principle of cryptography was stated by Dutch-born cryptographer Augustin Kirchhoffs in the 19th century. I knew it. I was like,
yes.
Yeah, typically, I don't know. That's just human nature, man. They just name people. We just name things after ourselves. Oh, but this is cool though. I like this. This is a nice little basic understanding of cryptography.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to read it, and I'm actually really impressed that DuckDuckGo was able to take my like terrible spelling of it and figure out what I meant, which is not often the case.
Yes, I was far off.
I always miss like one letter. Other times I'm like golden, but yeah, DuckDuckGo is clutch for that.
I put a C-U-R and it still found it out because it's K-E-R. So
Yeah, I did KIRK with no H. I know it's DuckDuckGo. I find like for the security you get, you drop off some of the like intelligence, but that was nice. Surprised me.
this was a really great space, though. I thank you guys for coming up, and Gene, you always drop such knowledge that I have to look it up on the internet because I don't even know what you're talking about, and there's nothing greater than that. But I love everybody. I love you guys all for coming to this space, man. This is we wouldn't be doing this, right? If I didn't find it valuable, if Karma didn't find it valuable, and I hope that everybody else finds it valuable as well. But we'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I hope everybody has a good rest of the night.
Cheers. Thanks so much, guys. Karma and Death and everyone for the chat. And see you guys again tomorrow.
Yep, no worries. Appreciate everybody coming. Not financial advice and all that stuff. And yep, if you want to help support the effort here, there's you can donate there on the top of the ledgerscale account. And yeah, appreciate everybody speaking up and joining in and asking questions and being curious. So see you tomorrow.
See everybody tomorrow.